Hello. Do you ever play a loop of thoughts in your head over and over again? Like you kind of get stuck on the soundtrack? It'd be one thing if it were a super pleasant, fun thought, but often if you're like me, it's not the fun stuff you get stuck on. It's the worries, it's the mistakes and the regrets in that moment that you wish you had said or done something differently. I have a really bad habit of replaying my mistakes. I'm Lauren, by the way, getting real personal with you here from the Air One Afternoon Show, CJ and Lauren, out on my walk. I started this just a minute ago, I'll be honest, and I was on the hill and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna have enough energy to vocalize this and get up that hill because this baby bump means I need a little more gusto than I used to have. I did not anticipate pregnancy would make me feel like a sea cow with legs. I guess that's just a normal cow, but that's how I feel, moving a little extra these days. But I really do. I have a bad habit of that. And I struggle with replaying the things I wish I had done differently in my life. And maybe you do the same thing. Maybe it was a moment that impacted not only you, but people you love. Or maybe it's something that nobody else even knows about in your life, but you know. And so you revisit that thought like a bad soundtrack that just gets stuck and stuck and stuck. And the comforting part for me when I get stuck in that spot or that pattern is that's not how God sees us. That's not the filter he looks at you with. Because of God's redeeming love, it's already been covered. Like you were bought at a price that you and I could never pay for all the wrong things we'd do, we'd say, we'd even think. God's sacrificial love redeemed us, paid this price so that we don't have to be defined by those things. And yeah, there's consequences in life. You know, when you do certain things, they have consequences. But thankfully, God doesn't hold that. It's not like our identity is Lauren Lee, once lied, forever a liar. Does that make sense? And that's what I think of as this moment in college where I had, not proud to tell you this story, by the way. I don't think I've even told my husband this before, but I had the biggest crush, smitten as a kitten for a boy who really wasn't that good for me. My dad could see that. He didn't care much for him, but I thought I knew what was best for me. Of course, I was in college. And my dad had tickets to an upcoming Denver Broncos football game. Big game. This boy that I was smitten for loved the Denver Broncos. So I finagled a story on how I could get these tickets. Anytime you have to use the word finagle when you're telling something, it probably means you're just lying, but we don't like the word lying, right? So I finagled the truth, AKA lied about who I was taking, and my dad gave me the tickets and we went to the game. And even that whole time leading up to it, I had this pit in my stomach that was like, you know better, why did you do this? But then it really hit me like an extra dummy when we're at the game and the tickets are surrounded by all of our family friends. Of course, my dad's going to find out at some point who I actually took. But before then, even just a conviction of like, you know better, why would you do that? So on the way home, I'm deciding I'm going to tell Dad the truth. I'm going to. When Dad asks me the next day how the game was, what did I do? I continued the lie because it was so scary to me. What would happen if I was honest? Like, would my dad disown me? Would he ever trust me again? So it was just easier to continue making wrong choices. And looking back, I want to tell young me, like, just come clean. Your dad's looking out for you. But in that moment, I just gave a vague response. I wasn't like blatantly lying, but I definitely did not give details about anything because I knew details would mean I needed to explain more about who I took. Anyways, it took over a week for me to muster the courage to tell my dad the truth. And I remember that conversation because I was so nervous. And my dad was not pleased. He was not, happy about it. But surprisingly, he didn't harp on it. He didn't point out how wrong I was. He vocalized disappointment, which was really hard to hear. But then he let it go. And he said at the end of the conversation was like, I love you. And my dad to this day has not brought that back up. I have replayed it so many times, but my dad has never replayed it or brought it back up to me. And it was, weeks later, and my mom says to me, sweetie, you need to stop beating yourself up with this. Like, your dad has already forgiven you. So you need to forgive yourself and move forward. Learn from it and then move forward. And I don't think my mom realized she was giving me a life lesson in that day. But when I think of the word, here's another hill, redemption, I think of that story. There is freedom. There's such freedom and the redeeming love of God. And He's God the Father, not the Godfather. I think sometimes I can get him, switched in my head and be like, oh, he's gonna be angry. I'm definitely gonna be defined by how poorly I handled that situation. But that's not how God works. He's God, the loving, compassionate, redeeming Father, not the Godfather. So if you keep playing a certain soundtrack over and over in your head that goes back to the not so pleasant, maybe it helps replace that with a new soundtrack, whether it's a scripture you want to hold on to or a song. One of the songs I've loved recently is Josh Baldwin's There's Freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. I won't keep singing, but you know the song. So just walk in that today, knowing that all the things wrong that you have said, done, or even thought about, because of God, you've already been redeemed, and he's bought you, and he doesn't have buyer's remorse. Have a good day.